Welcome to the Todd Durkin Impact Show. My name is Todd Durkin, and I'm your host for the podcast. Today, I will share with you many of my lessons learned from 5 mentors in my life. They have greatly impacted me as a coach, trainer, husband, father, and man. I guarantee this episode will inspire and impact your life on many levels as I go deep on these incredible lessons. Let's jump in now and listen to my top lessons learned from my mentors. Today's episode is sponsored by Theragun. Man, I'm not sure where I'd be without this recovery tool. I first used it on NBC Strong when we were all on set. I literally would be using the Theragun before and after every competition, and I fell in love with it. Essentially, Theragun is a percussive massage gun that can be used on every muscle of the body, all 622 muscles. It's going to help relieve stress. It's going to help loosen up before a training session, practice, or even a big competition. The Theragun is light. It's engineered to deliver 40 percussions per second, and it feels great. You can use it for 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or however long you desire. At Fitness Quest 10, we have a full kit of Theragun so we can gun our clients after a session. Bottom line is this: if you're serious about your health and fitness, Theragun needs to be a staple tool in your arsenal. My athletes love it, my clients love it, I love it, and you're going to love it as well. Get one today at www.theragun.com. In 1985, my dad and I were standing outside the locker room after a varsity football game at Brick Township High School, New Jersey. I was just a freshman, and I had just got my first varsity start. And I remember we won the game. I remember my dad saying after the game a few things. Number one, stay humble in this journey you're on. It's just beginning. And the second thing he said was, you're going to need a mentor to help you along the way to navigate your ups and downs. And we're looking at my dad with curiosity saying, well, Dad, what's a mentor? He said, son, throughout life, throughout sports, you're going to need to lean on coaches and mentors to help you on all aspects. Right then and there, in 1985, I asked my dad to be my first mentor, and I was just 14 years old. Since that time, I've had many mentors help pave the way that I've been on as well. As a matter of fact, in today's episode, I'm going to share 5 of those mentors with you today. The first one is Coach Wolf. Warren Wolf, 52 years as the head football coach at Brick, New Jersey. I remember being 5 years old and hanging over the fence, dreaming of the day that I would someday play for Coach Wolf. Finally, when I got to high school, I had the opportunity, and I remember practice after practice, Coach Wolf would say, run it again, run it again, run it again. I learned right then and there the 5 P's to success. Perfect practice produces peak performance. Perfect practice produces peak performance. You have to be willing to practice day after day, night after night. Matter of fact, one day it was a scrimmage, and I had only gotten yelled at by Coach Wolf a couple times in my high school career, but one time it was third and short, and I got stuffed at the goal line. And he comes over and he peels the dirt off my face mask. He says, Durkin, why are you playing so robotic? I still laugh to this day of Coach coming over saying, Durkin, why are you playing so robotic? You got to loosen up. Well, as I was peeling the dirt off my face mask too, I remember that you got to play loose. You got to just play. You can't always play so mechanical. That was a lesson right then and there from one of my coaches about how I could loosen up and just feel the game versus always thinking and being cerebral. Another aspect that Coach Wolf taught me happened to be on Labor Day. It was 1988, Labor Day, 1988. And Coach Wolf, right after the warm-ups, just 10 minutes into the practice, he blew his whistle as he always does, and everyone runs in thinking that practice was going to end. And Coach Wolf said, boys, you've been working hard. You've been working real hard. As a matter of fact, you've been working so hard, you deserve something special today. And we're all looking around at each other thinking, oh yeah, Coach Wolf is going to let us off of practice today. And just then he says, and I know how bad you want a championship. As a matter of fact, because you want a champion so bad, today is Labor Day. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to labor, 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 labor. And I remember, as good as it was yesterday, the look on all of our faces, knowing for the next 2.5 hours, it was going to be pure hell as we labored. And sure enough, that year we won a championship because of the labor. There's not a Labor Day that goes by that I don't think of Coach Wolf blowing that whistle, calling us up together, and seeing a bunch of 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-old men thinking, labor. If you want to build a championship, that's what you got to do. You got to labor. So many great lessons from Coach Wolf, and he continues to serve as a mentor today. He's 92 years old. And another lesson that Coach Wolf taught me was the power of a handshake. The power of a handshake. You know, Coach Wolf was always a guy who believed in the power of a firm handshake. He'd say, no limp fish handshakes, no limp fish. Because when any game was over, win or loss, he'd stand at the entrance to where we'd go in the locker room, and he'd thank every player as they walked out and hand them a piece of fruit. And he'd say, thank you for being a brick football player. And he'd hand us a piece of fruit, and he'd give us a nice firm handshake. And he'd talk about the power of looking in someone's eye and giving them a strong handshake. And today, when I think about a firm handshake and looking someone in the eye, the power of touch. The power of touch and a firm handshake goes a long way. Remember when you shake someone's hand today, to give a firm handshake, look them in the eye, and know that there's a spirit and a soul behind those eyes. The power of touch. And lastly, Coach Wolf would always talk about before any game, do your job. Do your job. Folks, in a day today when all of us want more success and more significance, I think it's important that we do our job. It's not anyone else's fault. It's not anyone else's problem or responsibility. You got to do your job. And doing your job typically takes more time, effort, practice, diligence, discipline, focus than ever before. But ultimately, it comes down to do your job. Do your job. That still wakes me up today about how could I do a better job in what I do. Coach Wolf, thank you for the lessons that you've always taught me. Coach Wolf is the mayor, the superintendent of the schools. He was the head football coach. He served at his church, and he was an icon. Mentor number one, Coach Wolf. So many lessons that impact me today. The second mentor who impacts me greatly today and who probably has impacted me the most in my business life is a man named Wayne Cotton. I met him in 1997. And the backstory on how I met him was I was living at a condo complex when I was in graduate school. And he was a resident at this complex where he would train up there. And I got to meet him. And he was in the insurance and financial industry. And he was a member of the $1 Million Round Table. And I soon became a trainer and massage therapist to Wayne and his wife, Brenda. And it was around the same time when I was forming the idea to create my own business. And I didn't have a name for my personal training studio I was about to open. And we sat down at a card table and came up with the name Fitness Quest 10, the quest for perfection in health and wellness and performance, the desire to be great in all that you do, the 10 representing not only my athletic number, but the 10 representing that number for excellence in all that we do. Well, I didn't know at the time that my wife's birthday and two of my 3 kids' birthdays would soon be on the 10th as well. But Wayne Cotton has taught me a lot in my 19 years of having Fitness Quest 10 and over almost a 25-year relationship. And one of those lessons that he taught me as a mentor was the 5 F's. The 5 F's. And listen to this. Sit back, booty's back, sit up nice and tall. The 5 F's. Fear, frustration, and failure is overcome with faith, forward thinking, and follow through. One more time, think about this. The 5 F's. Fear, frustration, and failure is overcome with faith, forward thinking, and follow through. Very, very powerful lessons. He'd also say, if your outgoing exceeds your incoming, your upkeep will ultimately become your downfall. Let me repeat that. If your outgoing exceeds your incoming, your upkeep ultimately becomes your downfall. And then one day, early 2000s, Wayne Cotton asked me a question I'll never forget. He said, Todd, is life a marathon or a sprint? I said, Wayne, of course it's a marathon. He who gets to the finish line first wins. And he looked at me as only Wayne Cotton could look at me and said, Todd, you're dead wrong. Life is not a marathon. Life is a series of short sprints. You sprint, you recover, you sprint, you recover, you sprint, and you recover. The more recovery you get, the more energy you're going to have. And the secret to the game of life is having high energy so you could be highly productive in all that you do. When you could master your energy, then you can master performance, you can master success, and you can master significance. And that's when he taught me about the color-coded calendar system that I still employ to this day. And that's when I color-code my calendar 4 different colors: blue, green, red, and yellow. Blue is blue sky time when you're working on your business. Green is green machine time. That's when you're making money. Red is red tape, organizational time. And yellow is mellow yellow time. And he said, Todd, if you want to make more money, you need more time in blue sky and mellow yellow. Blue sky time is actually when you're strategizing about your life. You step away, you go to the mountains, or you go to a hotel, or you go to your home office, and you just write about your strategy and your vision of what you want to do in your business and your life. You need a life plan as well. That allows you to think creatively and to actually put a plan on paper. But just as important as your blue sky, you need mellow yellow time. Mellow yellow time is time away from work, when you're actually just in the mountains, you're in nature, you're on vacation. As a matter of fact, the more mellow yellow time you have and the more blue sky time you have, the more green machine you'll have. And I remember scratching my head thinking, well, how can you make more money if you're not working? And his whole philosophy is the more time you're off creating as a visionary and then putting plans in place and then executing that, because your energy will be far higher, then you could go execute those strategies. Such great, profound wisdom. My friends, today, as you think about the 5 F's and is life a marathon or a sprint, I want you to think about how can you incorporate more time away working on you and working on your business and working on strategic plans that'll help you execute what you most want out of life. When you do that, I promise you, it will be a game changer. I know that Wayne Cotton has greatly impacted me. And when he asked me the question in year 2000 when I was starting Fitness Quest 10, do you want to build one or do you want to build 500? I said, Wayne, I only want to build one. I want to build one where they're going to flock to it from all over the country. He said, great. I want you to build it like you're going to build 500 of them. I said, I don't want 500. He said, it doesn't matter. I want you to systemize your business as if you're going to build 500, because then you can build a much more profitable business. And while I didn't heed his wisdom exactly at that time, now 19 years later, I certainly take in his wisdom, and our business is much more systemized as well. Wayne Cotton has impacted me as a man, as a father, as a husband, and of course as an entrepreneur. His systems for peak productivity are ones that I often share in all of my teachings, in my mastermind group, in my mentorships, when I'm out on the road speaking. And he's always been there when I needed him. One of the great things about mentors is that they're there when you need them, in good times and bad. And right now, if there's ever a time in business when I'm scratching my head and I need someone to run something by, Wayne Cotton is the first man I'll pick up the phone and call and explain a situation. And he always has that perfect timing on how to deliver a message. Wayne Cotton's a man of impact. He's a mentor who's greatly impacted me as well. The third mentor I want to talk about today is a man by the name of Tom House. Tom House. Now, you may not know the name Tom House, but I met him in the year 2000. I was working with a baseball player named Mark Pryor. Mark was just in high school, but he was a phenom. Matter of fact, they said that he had the best mechanics of any high school player anyone's ever seen. And Mark was highly touted and went to Vanderbilt University for a year and then transferred to USC, where he broke all of the college records that was held by Roger Clemens. Mark went on to become the second overall pick for the Chicago Cubs. And in having the relationship with Mark, I knew that he was working with a pitching coach named Tom House. And in year 2000, I had the opportunity to go to Tom House's functional fitness training certification. And I remember sitting in that workshop in La Jolla, California, And for the first time, I took my traditional wisdom of strength and conditioning, power cleans, hang cleans, bench press, squats, and all of these things. And all of a sudden, I heard a mentor who made phenomenal sense to me. Because I already had a background in massage therapy and body work and had studied fascia for 5 years since my back injury in 1995 that ended my football career, here was a man who was speaking my language of fascia and functional fitness, and he blended training and the mental emotional component to high performance. Well, you ask, how did Tom House most impact me as a coach and as a trainer? Well, so many of the methodology I still employ today, almost 20 years later. You got to train the backside to front side, 2-to-1 backside to front side. You got to train with different hand positions, fastball, breakable, change. All of my clients and athletes train like that. Different foot positions with straight duck pigeon toes as you're training the lower half of the body. Unilateral training along with bilateral training. Training with rotation and training in 3D, three-dimensional type training versus always linear. Looking at the dissociation of hips and shoulders. If you're working with a rotational athlete, any rotational athlete, a golfer, a quarterback, a pitcher. Well, most sport is rotational. You've got to train with rotation. Train the small muscles, the synergistic muscles which support the big muscles, because if you want a great monument, you first have to have a great foundation, and you got to build that foundation. Heck, if you ever read my Impact Body Plan, my philosophy in so many ways started with Tom House in taking that vernacular to another level as well. And of course, you know me as a mindset coach as well, and much of that was influenced by Coach House and what he did. And I get the opportunity now in working with him, and both Drew Brees and Tom works with Tom Brady as well. But just being around Tom makes me a better coach. And I don't know if you've ever been around a coach who makes you better by what you see. You may not see Tom on a lot of social media. You hear me talking about him, but he's a mentor who I would credit as the one coach who has most influenced my training philosophy and how I train now. And not only in the Impact Body Plan, but even now, 9 years later, after that book was released, and what I do with all of my clients and all of my athletes. The fourth mentor out of 5 mentors is my sister, Patty Durkin. Now, let me give you a little backstory. In 1989, I graduated high school. Man, that was 30 years ago. It's crazy. And when I graduated high school, my sister Patty was just starting her massage therapy practice. She went to massage therapy school down in Gainesville, Florida. So when she was starting out, you got to think she was a pioneer. In the late 1980s, massage therapy was just starting to come on as mainstream. And Patty is the oldest sister of my 5 sisters. And she gifted me for graduation. I got 1 massage per week up until I left for college to be a quarterback at the College of William & Mary. Now think about that. I was a senior in high school. I just graduated, and I got a massage every week from my sister Patty. And this was a great time to actually learn about massage therapy and soft tissue work. And again, in someone who was training very hard at the time to get ready for college football, she started to really share with me about the importance of flexibility and fascia work and all of the things that were important. And Patty has always been an intuitive. She's always listened to her heart. So just a few years later, in the spring of 1992, several big things happened. Number one, in February of 1992, my father had a massive heart attack and passed away. And that was the toughest time I've ever faced in my life. Up until this point, I've never faced such a horrific time. And it was also a time when I was trying to really contemplate my major in college. At the time, at first, I was a business major, and then I was a government major. I was studying business, but then I took accounting. That weeded me out. And then I took government because I thought I wanted to be the president of the United States. And after spending a little time in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, I realized, well, that wasn't what I wanted to do initially with my career. And Patty said, well, you talked about this kinesiology class and this anatomy class. And I said, yeah, I loved anatomy. It was my most favorite class I've ever taken. She said, what does your gut say? My gut says I should become a kinesiology major. But in my mind, I kept thinking that my father was saying that at that time, if you do kinesiology, then you have very limited options, that you're probably going to be a physical education teacher and coach. And there's nothing wrong with that, but back then in the 1980s, you're supposed to get this job with a certain salary and benefits and everything else. My sister Patty said, trust your gut. Thankfully, I listened to Patty because I became a kinesiology major and fell in love with it. And, the rest is history, because when I changed majors, I fell in love with kinesiology. I got my degree in 4 years. I took a fifth year and got my teaching certification in health and PE. And in many ways, in what I do now as a coach and trainer, I still look at myself as a teacher. I'm always teaching my clients, my athletes, my staff of 42 at Fitness Quest 10. I'm always teaching on that. And my gut, she taught me to trust my gut. And as a leader now in my organization at Fitness Quest 10, even when I'm hiring now or firing, it's the gut that leads me. It's not the spreadsheets. It's not the, the forecast, the prognostications of how the business is going to be. It's really about my gut and what does it say. And the other thing that Patty taught me is that personal development is the key to your success. You've heard me talk about you can only go as far as you grow. And that's the truth, because how far are you willing to grow? Patty is someone who takes more than 10 personal development workshops per year. And she's done that ever since I've known her. When you could pour yourself into personal growth, it keeps your energy fresh. When we talk about mellow yellow and blue sky, education is considered blue sky time. You're learning. And when you want to manifest your dreams and you want to succeed, I think you have to continually invest in yourself. Now, what's hard is when you're like, man, I don't have the money, or I don't know how I take 2 days off or a day off or a week off to invest in that workshop. When I look back, some of the most important times of growth for me were in workshops when I learned from Ali Brown, who serves as another mentor, and I took in 2007 on how to grow your list, your email list. That changed the way I did business. That was trusting my gut and learning something that was brand new to me. So Patty, who has served as a mentor on not only trusting your gut, but also in continue to flourish in your own personal growth. It never stops. Continually invest in yourself, not just professionally, but in personal growth, and watch how it impacts your life. The fifth and final one I'm going to share today is Pastor David Jeremiah. Pastor Jeremiah is someone I've been training now for almost 5 years at Fitness Quest 10. I train him 3 times a week, and I can't tell you the number of lessons I've learned from him on everything from worry and fear. But one of the greatest things that Pastor Jay has said to me is, when you're tired, you're not maximally inspired. And when you're tired, you're only at 60% of your maximum capacity. When you're tired, you're only at 60% of your max capacity. So if you're telling yourself this lie that you're tired, you can't keep going, you haven't even hit your full stride yet. When I look at someone like Pastor Jeremiah, the grit, the passion, devotion, resilience of a man who's in his late 70s and sells out arenas, and he packs his Shadow Mountain Church every Sunday, and you see him on TV, on Turning Point, on Sunday mornings. How does he impact me the most? Honestly, it's just the way he inspires me to be better. It's the way he lives his life. You know what I'm talking about? Are you around people who just inspire you to be better, to live better? Don't wait for those opportunities. You got to go out and seek them yourself. And whether you want your own TV show, your own podcast, you want to sell out stadiums, what Pastor Jeremiah has taught me is you've got to have a vision. But most importantly, you have to take action on that. You have to have intense discipline. And he's just one of those people who makes me better from being around him. And also, and not only sharing my own faith, but more important than sharing my faith, but by being my own faith, by being someone of faith, by the way I walk and the way I talk, that you don't always have to just be profound and prolific in your voice, but the way you live your life. So, Pastor Jeremiah, thank you for being a mentor to me, and it's an honor to actually train Pastor Jay in the last several years. I'd be remiss if I didn't also talk about my mom and dad as mentors. Why? Well, because my mom raised 8 kids. So I'm giving you a little and then some here. She raised 8 kids, and we didn't have much money. My mom and dad divorced when I was just 5 years old. But the one lesson my mom always taught me was the power of love, that love always wins. When she and my dad were going through tough times and I was a kid and I had lunch tickets and I was embarrassed to go through the lunch ticket line, my mom always taught me about empathy and about heart and about forgiveness and about love. And to this day, my mom, who's in her late 80s now, still living strong in Orlando, Florida, she continues to just epitomize the word love. And for my dad, my dad only had for 20 years of my life. He left us in 1992 of a heart attack. And that was a tough time. But there were several lessons I learned from my dad that continually impact me today. And he continues to serve as a mentor as well. Number one, you got to be scrappy. You got to find ways to get things done. And I've always resonated with that word scrappy. Maybe it's because I'm the youngest of 8 kids with 5 sisters and 2 brothers. You got to be scrappy. And in life and in business, sometimes you don't always have the money that you want to do what you want to do. You got to find ways. You got to find ways to connect with the people you need to connect with. You got to find ways to be resourceful to get what you want. And you got to be diligent and focused and disciplined to get what you want. Be scrappy. He also taught me to be likable. My dad had the uncanny ability when he walked in a room to light up a room. Everyone liked my dad. And he always told me to be nice to the people that can do you absolutely no good. And I've always resonated with that. Like, the janitor and the kids who weren't cool, like, be nice to them. Like, how can you be more likable? And I think that's important wisdom for all of us in today's day of just be more likable. If you want to, work your way up the corporate ladder and you want to ascend in your career, just be more likable, be more scrappy. And the last lesson I'll share about my dad, and he is the one man who has impacted me the most out of anybody in my life. It's all about time. It's about time in your life. And I wrote about this in my WOW book, chapter number 1, Time. My dad, he used to go to all my practices and games. He didn't miss any. But the interesting thing was, he never yelled. He never screamed. I never heard him. But I always knew he was there. I always knew it was about the time that he was there. So I leave today this episode about time. Who are the mentors in your life? Who are they? Call them up. Thank them. Send them an email. Pick up the phone, whatever it takes. But I want to remind you, wherever you are around the globe listening to this today, whether I serve as a mentor to you or not, hopefully this episode you can share with one of your mentors. Take more vacations and holidays. Be more present in all of your conversations. Show up to practices and games when you can. So Coach Wolf, Wayne Cotton, Tom House, my sister Patty, Pastor David Jeremiah, and there's many more. But I want to thank the people who have impacted me. And now I have the opportunity to mentor a lot of people. Who do you mentor? Nowadays, I mentor my team of 42 people at Fitness Quest 10. I mentor my clients and my athletes. I mentor fitness pros through my Todd Mastermind group. And I even just launched an impact coaching program to anyone desiring more success and significance in their own life. Mentoring, leading, teaching, and raising other people up moves my soul, and I love that role. But regardless of who or where you are now in life, make sure you have a close inner circle and mentors in your life who can help you save you time, energy, money, frustration, or even just expedite your journey to help you achieve your goals. Thanks for listening to today's episode. It is said that every great achiever is inspired by a great mentor. And it was an honor to share 5 of my mentors and the lessons learned with you today. If you enjoyed today's session, please do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Please share it. And don't forget to write a review. The reviews really help us spread the gospel of motivation and inspiration. Go out there and have an incredible day. And I look forward to talking to you real soon. Peace and God bless. Attention leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, and fire-breathing dragons. I have some exciting news for you today. I run a coaching mastermind group for trainers and coaches. For years, non-trainers and non-fit pros have asked me to run a coaching program for high performers. Guess what? Now is the time. For the first time ever, I'm leading a 90-day coaching program to lead you right into 2020, looking, feeling, and being your absolute best. This executive level coaching program is going to have several features: a 90-day workout program, daily motivation, a weekly meditation and devotional from yours truly, a monthly coaching call with me, and a one-on-one executive coaching call with one of my coaches. If you're ready to catapult your health, vitality, energy, clarity, results, and success in business and life, I would love the opportunity to coach you. It's called the TD Impact Coaching Program, and it's starting this fall. Check out all the details over at www.todddurkin.com/impact-coaching. This program is for any high performer. Maybe you're a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, an entrepreneur, a financial advisor, or someone just seeking your best life. We'll be coaching on all areas of your life: business, leadership, vision, goals, action steps. I will personally hold your hand for 90 days to make sure you get out what you need to go into 2020 charging hard. I'm only accepting 12 people. That's right, the dirty dozen, 12 people in this 90-day coaching program. If that's you, sign up today. Don't wait. Don't delay. This will sell out. Again, check it out, todddurkin.com/impact-coaching.